Hi, everyone. My name is Danny Lachmandas, host of the Talent Tap podcast and owner of Quintalo. We help staffing and recruiting agencies generate consistent, qualified client opportunities through an AI powered growth engine. Drop growth in the comments if you want to learn how to grow your staffing and recruiting agency. And today with us, we have Scott Wiley, Chief Operating Officer of In Flight Crew Connections. How are you doing today, Scott?
I'm great. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, great having you on. Where are you calling in from today?
So I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay. Yeah, I've been out there before. I love North Carolina. But I guess my first question for you would be, how did you start in flight through connections, or how did you start your entrepreneurship, and a little bit background of how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, sure. So, you know, a lot of what I've done, I've had a number of different career paths, and I've always sort of centered around being able to scale and grow teams. And so, it's interesting that we're talking about recruitment because recruiting has been a theme throughout my career. Back to when I was coaching Division One athletics, a lot of obviously recruitment in there. And then, through my time through corporate America, we did a lot of recruitment, and I've seen let's call it the good, the bad, the ugly, right? And the evolution of technology, I think, is a really important one as that grows. But I came to In-Flight Crew Connections. I worked previously for robotics and tech startups, so that kind of spurred the entrepreneurial bug for me, and came over to In-Flight Crew Connections about a year ago. Talked with the team and thought it was a great opportunity for me to help them scale. So we're not a startup. We've been around for 23 years. We're really what I would call a scale up, which is trying to get from where we are today and really put some accelerant on where we're trying to get to in the next 3 to 5 years.
Okay. Yeah. So it seems you have been in business for a long time, definitely not new to it. In the aviation industry, it's constantly evolving. From your perspective, what are the most significant trends you're seeing in airline crewing and recruitment right now in 2026?
Yeah. So I have been around a little while. I think it's the platinum hair I have probably is what tips you off. But what I see in aviation is there's a high demand right now for whether it's contract pilots, cabin attendants, or anyone in the mechanic world. I mean, the mechanics right now are probably the highest demand from the aviation space. So a lot of what it is today is, can you get the coverage? Can you find the right candidates? Can you do strong client candidate matching? I do see that, technology today, I think, is serving both the candidate and the client. So, there was a large concern where candidates weren't getting the communication they thought they deserved. I think that's been improved with the use of technology and just the ability to source a broad range of candidates for clients. And then I really see some significant improvement in the communication, right? So automating communication, I think the ability to do automated interviewing is getting better and better. So I think technology in the world of recruiting is going to have a tremendous enhancement. I think it will allow people to do more with the same number of people they have, which I think is the important piece. So it's not there to replace anybody. It's there to help those people do their job better.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. What I've found with AI in general is it makes us more efficient, but the human touch is still very much needed, especially in a high touch industry like staffing and recruiting. I believe that human touch is still very much needed, but technology and AI is going to make us much more efficient and quicker, which that helps everyone save time to put into other things.
Totally agree.
What would you say is the core philosophy behind the in-flight crew connection that sets it apart for in the aviation staffing sector?
Yeah, we've been around for this is our 24th year. Our founder is very well known in the industry. What separates us apart is that, we treat every client with a white glove service, right? So, in a world where technology is sort of accelerating communication and might be more having people lean towards using the communication more than people. We're really focused on the people, right? So making sure that our client get the attention they deserve from our incredibly talented people. And where we're leveraging the technology is what I would call sort of on the back end, right? So we're able to have our people be able to have those critical conversations at the right time with the right information when our clients need us the most. I think that's one of the most important things. We have the aviation experience. We have a talent database of over 10,000 people existing today, and we have the technology tools to augment or supplement that pool and enhance the client and candidate experience. So that's kind of how we've packaged the whole thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Are there any other innovative approaches or technologies you're exploring to enhance the efficiency or quality of crew placement and management?
Yeah, so we are looking a lot at what I would call kind of rules based automations, which is a lot of workflow
Uh-huh.
things, and that's kind of phase one is to see how we become more efficient from that perspective. And then as we think about AI and more the agentic fashions, that leveraging AI to provide more insights, get answers quicker, drive, again, a heightened experience for both our employees, the candidates, and our clients. That's really what we're centered on today. I think the challenge for everybody is it's uncharted waters. So, are you chasing the shiny object? Or are you actually thinking through what I would call sort of a very, astute AI strategy, which is so what we're trying to do is think through it from a foundational perspective instead of just going and grabbing five different tools that look like they might do something, but how do we incorporate them into sort of more of a foundational approach so that as we look to grow and scale the business, we've got a strong foundation. AI and agentic AI is both there to help.
Yeah, and one thing that I have found with AI is it is now available to everyone from your day-to-day people, kids in school to we now have cars that are letting the elderly drive at 80, 90 years old. And the biggest thing with it is the people that know how to use AI will get better results with it. There's one thing to know about AI, and it's another thing to really know how to use it and get the most out of the tools you're using. Because if you give AI to someone that really doesn't know what they're doing, yeah, it may work, but it's not going to work as effectively as it would with someone that is trained on how to use it and use it effectively.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the way that we think about AI is, there's the generative AI, there's the agentic AI, right? So there's the everyday use and then the technical use. We try to center in the concept of AI as a thought partner, right? We as the human are the thought leader. So we don't tend to use it like a Google search. We tend to use it more for we use a kind of a four prompt method, which is we give context of what we're trying to accomplish. We identify a role that we want AI to play. We then ask it to interview us and then we define what the task is. The thing that we've started to do, which has been really effective, is we've then go in and sometimes we'll use a different platform. So if we're using, GenSpark to do one thing, we'll go to a Chat GPT or a Claude or a Copilot and ask it to evaluate the other tool and look for things like risk and safety and really try to multi-layer it. I think the challenge for most people today is there really isn't one platform that does everything as everybody wants it, right? So I think that time will come. So we're trying to use sort of a multi-platform approach. I will say that, personally, but also within the company, the people that are kind of really leaning into it we're seeing tremendous output. And all we're trying to do with our team is to me, it's all about curiosity, right? It's all about just willing to dive in and just start kind of playing with it, right? And thinking creatively and trying things. So we actually do a lunch and learn series where we invite anybody that wants to come in. We have AI topics. We use Google Labs a lot, which has free experiments so that you don't have to have a paid account and you can we have people that are creating songs about their kids, which is kind of fun, or sort of image manipulation, that sort of thing. But we also have people that are building, small little no code, low code apps, which are really easy to create. So we're trying to foster that environment of curiosity because, I think we feel like curiosity will lead to adoption. And then once we have adoption, then we have champions. And once we have champions, we can scale AI through the company.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's good that your company is proactively getting your, I guess, employees involved in AI and just trying to learn about it. I think it's gonna be a huge benefit down the road. One thing I always tell people to remember when they're using AI is whatever AI you're using today is the worst version of it you will ever use. It's just always improving. And it's just it's something that's hard to really wrap your head around. Because really we don't even we might not be able to even comprehend what we will even be using 2 or 3 years from now. It's like 20 years ago, we couldn't comprehend TikTok or Instagram. It just wasn't there. It wasn't even a thought in our mind, and I think it's very much the same thing with what AI is now. We really can't comprehend what we're gonna be dealing with in 5 or 10 years, maybe even sooner with the way things are advancing.
Yeah, no, I would agree. And I think, you look back historically, I'm old enough to be around for a lot of these events. I mean, you had the internet. I think a lot of people thought the world was ending. Then you had an iPhone, and that was going to be, mind blowing, right? And you kind of go through these, right? Then you start to see, large language models, machine learning, like 2015. And I think what we're going to see is, I think the initial push was all the negatives, right? Which I think are fair and real, and we need to put governance. But I think this is one of those ones like those that's going to create more opportunity, right? We might see, the job of the coder that was before might have a different title, but I do think there's going to be value to what people are doing. So I think this is going to create more opportunities. The thing that we're also thinking about from a business perspective is, how do we create optionality? So in our world, we engage with our clients typically through email, text message, email, SMS, phone call, and what I think we're looking at in terms of leveraging technology is optionality, right? So because I think AI is also going to be very interesting to look at generationally. So myself, my parents, we probably want to talk to somebody, but my 21-year-old daughter, she wants to engage solely in a mobile device because their world is very, I mean,
Digital.
you can order Burger King at $8, have it delivered, put on your door, not talk to anybody, right? And you get a picture. It's there. You go pick it up and you go eat your dinner. Talk about a foreign concept. If you're 75, that concept is crazy. So I think you have to really think about it from a business perspective. I think it's a mistake to go 100% all in on AI or 100% without it.
Yeah,
I
and
think it's one of those things where,
that's a statement I've heard from multiple people running this podcast, that exact statement, and I agree with it. I
yeah,
agree with it.
I thought that was an original concept. Darn. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I think it's just the prudent way to do it. It's I think you want to kind of go slow to get fast, right? Like I think we have to be a little careful because I do know companies that have kind of gone all in on AI and they're starting to see a little backlash because it's not 100% there. So I'm glad a lot of people are thinking that way.
Yeah, and again, I think it goes back to AI is gonna make us more efficient and faster, but the human touch is what will make us win. And that could change 10 years from now, but right now, I think that's where we're at. The people that are being proactive, they're not looking at it too negatively and just trying to learn as much as they can about it are the ones that are going to progress, I guess, is the word in the next few years. Like it goes back to coders, like AI is taking over coding jobs. Well, these guys that were coders, they probably need to start learning how to do AI so they don't lose their jobs. They can get jobs that are going to be more AI driven because there are going to be jobs emerging where they're going to need people that know how to use AI.
Yeah.
I
No,
think
I
that's
agree.
definitely
I think it's always, I've always sort of worked hard to try to, and believe in continued education, continued self-improvement. I think this is just such a important kind of obvious one, right? And so leaning into it, I think is going to be important. The interesting thing for me is that I think that the kids in college right now, I don't know, because I think the educational system is a little bit behind. Like we really need to get our younger generation understanding the tool and seeing how they can use it for global good, right? Not just Instagram good, let's call it,
yeah,
right? Like,
personal
yeah,
gain.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I think we agree on a lot of points for sure when it comes to the topic. But another question I had was tools like AI cold email agents or the AI SDR are emerging to automate lead generation and qualification. How do you think these types of AI agents could impact the initial stages of connecting with potential flight crew candidates?
yeah. I think I find it fascinating, to be honest with you. We decided this year to create a little bit of kind of an R&D budget for these sorts of things. So we've
Uh-huh.
actually invested in a AI voice agent platform, mostly just to kind of pilot it and see what we like. Obviously, I don't think it's to the point where you deploy it to, your top customers. I see a lot of value in it in inbound. If somebody calls in, I think there's a lot of value there. I also think the cold email outreach that you kind of warm up inboxes and you personalize it. To me, I think that's a no-brainer. We are doing that and going to be moving forward with that because it's not a voice interaction, it's an email interaction. And some of that sort of stuff is really impressive because it learns about you, it personalizes everything. And the other thing too is what I worry about is role clarity for kind of like, BDRs, SDRs, AEs, AMs, right? Role clarity, consistency, and what I would call the emotional element of prospecting, right? Prospecting is hard, right? Today, it's almost impossible to get a hold of somebody. And when you do, the majority of the time, you're getting a negative response. So if you're wanting a human to do that over and over again, it definitely has an emotional toll where a robot done right, which I think is the big caveat, doesn't have that same emotional toll, right? They don't have any feelings. So I think there's an element of it where it could start the process, do initial things. Obviously, like we talked about, you're definitely going to want a human involved in that process. But if you could cover 25 or 30% more prospects effectively, to me, that's a huge win.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah. Like, it's definitely in the initial stages, and like you said, it takes an emotional toll on the people, and another big thing is it takes hours in time for a human to go in and email these prospects and reply and follow up when a prospect doesn't reply. That's a big thing with sales in general. I've been in sales my whole life, and a lot of sales are lost by not following up or won by just being persistent and following up, and that it takes a different kind of person to follow up when you don't get a reply or you're not getting that response that you want right away. And with the cold email agents and AI SDRs, the human emotion is taken out of that. So they're able to be a little more aggressive and do those follow-up emails and reply to those. And another big factor is, again, it takes the time away from the actual people that have to do it, which these companies are paying these employees to do admin 30, 40 hours a week. Whereas if you have an AI SDR cold email agent, that would take away those 20, 30 hours it takes that you would pay an employee to do that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think also, these numbers might be slightly outdated, but, as I was doing a lot of sales training a few years ago, the average, it takes between 8 and 12 contacts with a person to actually get in touch with somebody. And in today's world, more decisions are being made by committee. So that means you have to get to more and more people. I kind of think of it, if you could shrink that number of human outreach, right? So if we're looking at 10 outreaches to get a hold of somebody, and 5 of them can be automated and 5 of them are human, that human is going to feel a lot better about their day, right? If they're only doing half as much of the work, it's half as taxing on them, both, emotionally and mentally. Not to mention that saves a few words.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree there. AI sales call analyzers, I don't know if you've heard of that, becoming more sophisticated. Do you see value in using AI to analyze recruiter candidate interactions to improve matching accuracy or communication strategies?
Yeah, I do. We use a tool that does it. We use it for our whole sales organization, and we're evaluating to see if it's going to have an impact on, either our operations, which is our direct connection with crew and candidates once they've signed on with us, or in the recruiting world. One of the things that I found to be very interesting, because I've used platforms like Gong for 10 or 12 years, which is a call recording, operations. What AI is doing that I think is different is it's giving people some prescriptive ways of looking at it, right? So if it hears this, it can say, hey, how about this live? And the other thing that we see that's really interesting is what I would call really high level executive summaries, right? So it can analyze all of the calls over a 30-day period, analyze it all and create either a podcast or a written executive summary that we do it, and it is amazing. You kind of have some intuition or inclination that it is, and then all of a sudden you get confirmation from this executive summary. I think that's really powerful. I also think it's able to do trends and patterns, right? So if we turn this on with all our candidates, we're going to learn pretty quickly. If we have a job posting and we talk to 50 candidates, what are those 50 candidates telling us about the market, right? It's you're on market, you're off market, these are the variables that are important. Right now, a lot of times it's kind of anecdotal, right? It's I talk, our recruiting talked to 50 candidates and they kind of try to compile what the challenges are. Now AI is actually going to give it to you. And then it also, which is the critical thing, it can provide suggestions as to how to do things differently. So it might say, this is the thought partner piece, right? Hey, comp might be out of line. These are hard to fill because of X, Y, Z. I think that's really the huge benefit.
Yeah. It just it's AI is very good at gathering large amounts of data quick, especially with the sales call analyzer, and it will notice things and maybe fill gaps that the human is just not able to because the human brain can only focus on so many things at once, and it's not going to notice everything. It won't be quite as efficient as AI might be able to pick out certain things. I've used sales call analyzers and some of the sales calls that I've done, and it has taught me a lot. And it definitely can make you more efficient in sales because maybe you're struggling to get a sale or you're struggling to do something and you don't really know what the issue is. That sales call analyzer can definitely point that out to you. Where if it would take you a few weeks or a few months to figure out what you're doing wrong, that could probably tell you very quickly.
Yeah, and also I think it's also great to know what you're doing right too, right? Like,
Oh, yeah,
hey,
yeah, yeah,
it can give you
100%.
that boost of, oh,
Mhm.
okay, I didn't
Yeah,
close this deal, but all the data and everything I used, I'm hearing that I'm on the right track, right?
yeah,
And,
yeah.
I think there's, and again, as you mentioned, I think we're just scratching the surface too, right? Like, give it 3 months, and all of a sudden, it's gonna be doing some other crazy, important
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah. But to, close this podcast out, I do have one more question, and it is, how do you think AI could help in predicting future talent needs or identifying emerging skill gaps with the aviation industry?
Yeah, I think it's good. I think the thing that I think a lot about is in aviation specifically, it ebbs and flows, right? Airlines, pilots, some age out, right? I think with the right data set, you could do some really interesting analytics. One of the things that we're doing is with our clients is asking them for some data. We're ingesting that data using AI to make strategic recommendations. Like so it is being used as a tool where we could actually identify flight departments that are either underutilized or overutilized in terms of their staffing, right? So it creates kind of like a green, yellow, red, and it is solely just based on the data that they give. And then what the AI does is it can recommend proactive solutions, and you can put in timelines and say, "Hey, look at you! Like right now, you look like this. If you did this, if you added, a contractor for 8 days this year, it turns this into this." And then it can also look at a quick ROI that are very realistic. So I think there's a lot of those things that you're going to see. Optimization in aviation is always a buzzword, right? Like how does a commercial airline optimize routes? Right now, they have tools that they can do it. They're optimizing pricing, right? They're doing a lot of these sorts of things. What I'm seeing is a lot of automation, asking for more integration with different software platforms together, and then a lot more on sort of the analytics and the data around trends, patterns. And as the world is keeps moving and there's more black swan events, right? You're gonna have to see kind of what's going on. And I think these tools can help predict a lot more than ever before.
Yeah, yeah. I myself, I've recently got into learning about staffing and recruiting. It's typically the industry that I service, but you're one of three people I've talked to that are in aviation. So I'm definitely trying to learn a little bit more about that space. It's very interesting. I didn't even know that it was a aviation staffing was such a huge thing. I always heard of staffing and recruiting on more of the street level, I guess.
Sure.
Um, yeah, I when I was younger, I went through a temp agency, staffing and recruiting agency to get me a job, and that's what I kinda thought staffing and recruiting was, but now that I've been in the industry for a little while now, I'm like, "This is much bigger than I expected."
Yeah. Yeah, I would share that sentiment because as I was kind of looking at this opportunity, it became kind of the forefront. There's a massive opportunity. Manufacturers, airplanes are building more and delivering more. People are flying, and more. There's
Mhm.
going to be more and more need. I think that just creates the growth opportunities. That's what we're here for. So, anybody that has a need, we're there to help them.
That's the goal, and that's a great, I guess, way to run your company. If anyone who needs you, you're there to help them. But yeah, that's about all the time we have for today. Thanks for coming on and speaking to me, and thanks everyone else for listening. We'll be posting podcasts once a week, and I'll catch everyone next time. Thank you.
Thank you.